What's up, Kingdom of Rock? This is Matt Gibson, and we are live here today on all of the platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, we have an awesome panel of guests and co-hosts. Well, a co-host, or no, I am a co-host too. Mike, why do I always get this confused? I got to write this out in a script.
Start over. I think JD Wayne.
Have you done, Matt?
Yeah. JD Wayne says, hi, Britt.
Hi, JD. JD's awesome. He's an amazing artist if you haven't checked out his work.
Okay, well, Matt has to get it right for JD then. So
okay, all right.
Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present our special guest today, Miss Britt Lightning, rock and roll guitarist extraordinaire. And what's that writing on the wall back there? That's interesting.
Rock and roll fantasy camp. I know. I'm in front of a green screen, and this is my daily backdrop here because I've been doing a lot of work with them with our online master classes since COVID hit. We've done over like 150 classes since June 1st when we launched them, and they've been amazing. So this is my new job when there's no touring going on.
And also that's I'll just jump in because I've done some work for David Fishoff, who's the founder and owner of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and a pretty amazing thing that maybe, Britt, you can kind of clue us in on, because a lot of what we talk about is how to survive and keep your mojo working during the pandemic. And David did a pretty amazing thing, because I bet he was pretty much crapping his pants when this started. And it's like, I have live in person, my whole business is live in person rock star experiences. And now that's gone. So it was a pretty amazing pivot that he did. How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, well, there was that moment that everybody had, the like, oh shit week. And then it's like, okay, adapt or die. So let's work on some ideas. And he had been wanting to go online with the camps for a while, just thinking about ideas for a few years, actually. But it just never happened. And COVID was definitely the right time to start. So, we threw around a lot of ideas, whether doing like one-on-one lessons and, trying to do bands. We would love to have an environment where we can do, things where we can actually jam like a camp live, but the technology is just not there yet with the two-way audio going at the same time. But we started these online master classes, and they're amazing. It's, we spent over an hour with your favorite musical hero. We've got Roger Daltrey from The Who this Saturday. He did one 2 weeks ago. It was incredible. I mean, you just get to talk live. It's not pre-recorded. It's not, it's not a cameo. It's like you're interacting, and you hear these never before pieces of information and personalized advice. It's amazing. Have you been on one, Mike? No, you haven't.
I have not been on one yet, but I know from just doing. I've done some stuff from this, of course, and I've done some stuff with AES, but it must be kind of daunting how do you manage all those people who want to go Roger, or Alice, or.
Yeah, well, I have the power of the mute button, so I have the power. But yeah, no, it's harder than it looks. It's kind of a lot of work, but it's great. It's fun. We were doing them nightly for a long time, and so it was like every night just being inspired. It's been really cool. It's really been helping me get through COVID too. Mm-hmm. Mentally.
So are virtual campers easier to manage than actual ones? Like ones in person?
Well, good question. I guess I would have to say yes, because I wish there was a real life mute button. That would be
right. Yeah. Some people just don't understand personal space and waiting your turn,
Yeah, you know what though? The group of campers that always, the regulars and the new ones, it's an amazing group of people. I mean, it really is.
Have you seen that the demographic has changed once you've gone online? Because I know that at least when I was associated a few years back now, it was mostly, people my age or a little bit younger. Sometimes they brought their kids, to go with them or bought an experience for their teenagers. But for the most part, it was older dudes. I mean, how has the online experience expanded the demographic?
Yeah, well, now it's allowed people from all different countries who could never fly or, afford to come over or, work in that specific weekend. And so it's really increased the global audience. Almost every night we have at least one person from Australia, Malaysia. We had, people are always like, I stayed up for this. It's 4 a.m. my time. And so it's been really cool to see that. And we've had a lot of young people. I mean, we've had members of Aerosmith Aerosmith, and it's young kids. It's like young kids and bands wanting to know advice, how to progress in the industry. It's refreshing. There's really all age ranges, and male and female.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, now let me ask you, take it in a different direction here. Obviously, you are a musician, and you are in a pretty well-known band called Vixen.
Yeah,
that I think most people have at least heard of, if not are a fan of. So how's that been going, and how has that been affected by the COVID-19?
Yes. Well, the band is awesome. Love all those girls so much. Sorry, getting a phone call. I should put this on Do Not Disturb.
Is that JD Wayne calling you?
No, it's not actually.
Okay, all right.
Another J name.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, let's see. Right. So all our summer touring was canceled, of course, that we had planned. And we do most of our shows in spring and summer. So that was a bust this year, which was unfortunate. And we're also working on a new studio album. So that's exciting. But we had a lot of in-person writing sessions. We work so well in person together, just vibing off each other. So the fact that we can't do that in person, trying to do it, you can't exactly jam over Zoom right now. It just doesn't really work. So, it's a little bit slower, but we're still working and still, finding time to connect and, be inspired. But I know we have shows on the book starting in April of next year. So I'm crossing my fingers that stays.
Yeah, we've heard all kinds of weird reports, let's just keep our fingers crossed. I don't think the clubs and bands can hold out too much longer. If this goes through like the end of 2021, it's going to be a whole different landscape of the, touring universe out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's only so many like live stream things you can do. It's just not the same. Yeah. It's just not.
What are you, have you done anything? Obviously this is a different format for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Have you guys as musicians done anything with any of the live streaming or hangouts or anything like that where you've either bringing the fans together or doing musical performances?
We haven't done a performance yet, just because I don't know, not everybody has a great setup like in their house, and just coordinating. We're all in different time zones too. I mean, right. We got Florida, Detroit, Nashville, Washington, LA. So we're we're tough to coordinate, but I don't know. I hope we do one soon. I don't know. Hasn't really happened, but we've been doing the writing. So that's our main focus right now.
Well, the writing thing is interesting because I know that, if you're all together, obviously, and let's say the bass player comes up with a lick, either you or the drummer or the singer or whatever can go, let's not do that. That doesn't sound right. But I know that in some of the co-writing I've been doing, over just trading tracks back and forth, there's that danger of your collaborator doing something and spending a lot of time on it that you just doesn't think works. And it's not a very happy moment when you go, hey, that thing that you spent 3 days on just sucks. Can we not do that?
Yeah, that happens. And it started out that way. So now it's like scrap the Pro Tools and Logic and all that. Use voice memo when an acoustic. And if we like it, then I'll spend more time on it. Yeah.
Oh, so that's interesting.
The work significantly in the beginning stages. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a thing yesterday. I'm working on my track still, my first track, and my engineer has a plugin that he can put in his Pro Tools session, and then he'll send me a link. Britt, you've probably already done this before, and the link, you open it up on your studio. So I have my kind of home studio back here. So I opened it up, and I could listen to his console as he was mixing it. So there's like a lot of people are finding ways to connect now. People are inventing things. Has there been any cool innovations that you've discovered from the COVID crisis that you're like, wow, this is a tool I hadn't considered using that way? Or have you been mostly sticking to the guitar? What have you been?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. But no, I haven't really delved into more different technologies. I mean, I have my Logic set up here, and I think I do best just doing it that way and sending it. Yeah, we haven't really explored too much on the technology side of things, to be honest.
Well, when a band looks at a band that's been around I mean, well, obviously Vixen's been around for a long while, and you've actually been in the band for a while, so you know them, but now you're in a situation where we have the pandemic, stuff has changed. Does any of that filter into the writing, or do you feel that the band has had such a stature for so long that the writing's pretty easy because you have to kind of stick between a certain parameter level?
I mean, no, it's been a while since Vixen's had a studio album. So, there's that fine line of wanting to create fresh, new sounding material with a modern twist, but also maintaining that classic Vixen sound, and, keeping true to the brand. So, it is a little challenging finding that balance, but I think definitely like with everything going on in the world, that has certainly affected, lyrical inspirations and musical inspirations too. So I think it's a different record. It will be a different record than it would have been if we didn't have COVID,
Yeah. Do you, how are you kind of being the party to this one? I mean, are you bringing anything specific that, hey, I want to change how I approach solos, or I want to be more, the material to be more riffy, or I want it to be more epic or whatever? Did you have any desires that have kind of filtered into the writing or recording process?
It's very cool. Everybody gives their input, and everybody's input is listened to. It's really collaborative that way. So it's awesome. And I don't know. I mean, we're big on, right now we're working on an anthem, this really cool rock anthem. So, I'm excited to make some epic melodic guitar lines in that. And, we're kind of working on a "We Will Rock You" vibe type song right now this week. And so, but yeah, I throw my own spin on it. Definitely. I think everybody does.
Where do you pull from? Where do you pull inspiration from as far as your solos? Do you kind of work yourself up to it, or you just let it rip?
It's funny. I used to plan out every note and really map out my solos. And now I just like to loop it and jam and jam and jam and record, and then listen back and then just kind of piece it together, kind of just from what sticks out when I listen back. But I think just spontaneously jamming in the moment without any, ideas is just more organic for me. And it's just like, whatever, that's really what I'm feeling. I'm not thinking I need flash here, I need a fast run here, I need a, sweep here. It's not about that. It's about more, I'm feeling more feel.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've had Elliot Easton of the Cars here, and he is one of those guitarists that goes, that plans every section of it out for the most part. I'm not going to say he always does that, but he'll pull something in from country, or I think this would be great to have a George Harrison riff here, or gee, I think I need to be really fast here. And you've obviously done both because you said you did used to plan them out. So is there more than just a feel thing between the difference between scripting a solo and just letting her rip?
Is there, wait, what's the question?
Well, I mean, obviously you say the feel is different if you just let it rip, but are there some other advantages or disadvantages to scripting out a solo?
I mean, if you're scripting it out, I feel like you get more impressive things in there that might not just come if you're just jamming, thinking like nobody's listening and this is just what I'm feeling. If you, want to have that fast repetitive lick here, or, it depends on what I'm listening to too. Like if I'm really, sometimes I'll be like, I need a little bit of Joe Walsh here. Or I need a little bit of, for this song, I'm like, I'll listen to Queen before, writing the solo. So I listen to songs that inspire the ideas behind whatever we're working on too. Players. So I kind of just draw from that. Like, yeah, what would David Gilmour do here? Kind of those thoughts. But, yeah.
So how's the as far as the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp stuff goes? So your next event is when?
Saturday with Roger Daltrey at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and it's all over Zoom.
How do you sign up for it?
So you can go to rockcamp.com, and there's a page that says master classes at the top, and they're all listed there. We've got also events with Styx coming up, members of the Scorpions. Yeah, it's been so much fun. We're getting some cool people. We had Joe Elliott last weekend from Def Leppard, Alice Cooper and Shep Gordon. They're awesome.
Also, I think that the long gestating super long awaited rock and roll fantasy camp documentary / movie is it imminent now finally, I think I heard, or what's going on with that?
Yes. So we actually, David and I just flew down to Key West, and we were in the Key West Film Festival and won Best Music documentary film down there. So that was awesome.
Wow.
And so that
Awesome.
was, that was the first live film festival that it was at since all the other ones, got canceled. But it was going to be released in February, but I just heard that I'm thinking it might be moved up now into January. So that's really exciting. It's going to be in a lot of theaters worldwide. So.
Are you going to do a streaming release as well, or just in theaters at first?
Yes, and actually there is a streaming film festival. I think it's next weekend, and I actually don't have all the details for that yet, but I should have. But yeah,
No, I mean, is it going to be released to streaming services as well as theaters, or just theaters only?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not as involved with film as I am with the classes in the camp, but I believe so. But yeah, it'll be everywhere.
So I don't know a lot about your superhero origin story. So why don't you tell a little bit about, how you got into music and how you got to where you are today, and maybe some point in there, think about what was the moment in your career where you're like, I think I've made it. I think I've gotten to the pinnacle of at least one of my pinnacles, because it's kind of more like this,
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I, like so many, was inspired to pick up the guitar because of Eddie Van Halen. I played the flute. I was always into music, and I just was like, guitar is never one of the cool options you can pick when you're in 4th grade. So, flute, and I joined all the wind ensembles, the jazz ensemble. I was really into it. And then I heard Eruption randomly, wasn't even really too aware of rock at the time. And, didn't have any older brothers or sisters to kind of influence me with music or anything like that. So, and my parents aren't big in music at all either. So, heard that, and I was just blown away for whatever reason. And all I knew was I wanted to play Eruption. Didn't have any plans to join a rock band. Didn't get that far in my head yet. Just like, I have to be able to play this. This is so cool. It's almost like a party trick. I need to, and I can't do that on the flute, I don't think. So I was like, got to pick up the guitar. Yeah, I should try. I still have the flute. Then we ended up moving. That was right before high school started. And then we moved, and I went to a private Catholic school, and they had no music or art programs, but they had a guitar club that I kind of found out about as I heard guitar in the hallways after school one day. And it was just like a couple kids in a room that one teacher left open for kids to just jam for like an hour after the classes that day. And so I kind of learned just organically jamming with those kids. Nobody really, were super expert, but we would jam on, Metallica and Van Halen and all that kind of stuff. And then we started these coffee house nights that we do once a month in the school cafeteria. And that was like my first band, first gig, and my younger sister played drums, and so we used to jam. My parents were super supportive. They let us have the drum set in the middle of the living room, and our place was the house that all the kids would come over and we'd all jam at. I don't know how they put up with that, but they did. And then I joined my first real band. I was testing out amps in Daddy's Junkie Music, if you guys remember that store. And the store manager heard me riffing on Metallica and was like, we just lost our guitar player. And so I went on tour with them, and that was my first little like kind of local tour, but we went, to Baltimore and some other spots. We're based out of Boston. And so that's when I realized like, oh, this is fun. Like I was like 16, and I was away from my parents. Nobody was watching me. I had a beer at a bar, and I just felt this overwhelming sense of freedom. And I was like, this is it. This is cool.
And your parents must have been awesome. I cannot imagine my parents ever saying, oh yeah, sure, you're 16, go out on the road with these degenerate musicians. There was just no way.
Well, but I have to say at the same time, they're very overprotective and strict. So like, they were very strict growing up. So I don't know. I think they knew that I had all that instilled in me. So I was going to be okay. you know, or something. But yeah, it worked. And and then after that, we started our girl band called Jaded, which was influenced by bands like Vixen and Runaways and, you know, Kiss and stuff like that. So we started that, and then I was in that band for 10 years at least, I think, and we did great, and we, you know, did some records, and that's when I realized I loved playing with women, and that was just so fun. It was like a girl gang, and I just, you know, it was really cool, and we had some good local success. We toured overseas too, and then, you know, we were always changing singers. It was like a problem, and I was always bummed out. As soon as we would get somewhere really close, it was like, oh, and the singer can't do this anymore, so you got to find a replacement. So then I got so sick of just dealing with that, and I just was like unenthused with everything music related. And a friend of mine said, why don't you just start auditioning for bands and just being a guitar player for hire, and then all you have to do is show up and play guitar. You don't have to worry about all the other stuff. And I was like, well, that's a good idea. Oh, and by the way, yeah, my name Britt Lightning came from the band Jaded. God bless you, Matt. And that was because I just thought it would be cool to kind of have, superhero alter ego names, you know, like, and so my idea was everybody can be a different element. And so I was going to be the lightning because it's fast and flashy and bright and exciting. And then, you know, we had Julie Steele, and then we had Hillary Blaze. So we all had these names, but mine just continued to stick. And I was also struck by lightning through the TV. So that actually happened before that. Yes.
So is that when you got your superpowers? Could you just like play Eruption immediately? Right.
I never picked up a guitar before, and it just came after that.
That's amazing.
So wait, lightning struck the television antenna, it came through the TV and shocked you? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I was actually kneeling down in front of the TV because we kept the CDs and stuff under the TV, the music, and I was going through that, and it actually hit me right in the living room. Family was all there. Yep, it was crazy. I was very jittery for a while, for like 2 days.
Did you get knocked out or?
Story. No, I didn't. No, I was stronger than the lightning.
I guess, yeah. Thank goodness the TV grounded it somewhat, I guess, before it got to you.
Yeah.
See, there were threats in the world before COVID.
Yeah, there were. Right. The world was a very dangerous place pre-COVID.
Yeah. Lightning was trying to band together to kill us all.
I remember taking apart. I was always a curious kid, and my dad let me help him rebuild his tractor one time, and so all of a sudden I'm a mechanic, I thought. And we had this black and white TV set downstairs, and it was like, it just should have had a sign on it that said, danger, do not touch unless you're authorized to do this, right? So I got my dad's toolbox, and I opened up the back of the TV, and I was curious, and I was just playing around with screwdrivers, and it was plugged in, you know? And those old black and white TVs got a lot of electricity in them. Let me just tell you that. Oh, yeah. And I learned a valuable lesson that day.
I bet you did. Yeah.
I used to have straight hair, and now it's curly. So.
Well, to get away from the shocking realities of both of your lives. Also, I'm always interested too, because, you know, it was difficult. It's difficult for especially female guitarists sometimes to find out, well, what's my inspiration? How do I get started? What's my group? You know, because it's been dominated by men for a long time. You know, we've heard all the stories. You don't have to go through that. But when did you all of a sudden decide that, who your influences were besides Eddie Van Halen, and then when you got to that moment where it's like, this is so great being in a band of women as opposed to, a melange of the sexes, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I think, after Van Halen, I just was attracted to the hair bands, because like the grunge that was happening is just not wasn't inspiring to me really as a guitar player, but like the ripping solos, like, I was listening to like Poison and Motley Crue, and they were like fun and just gave that whole image of what I wanted, as a teenager, like rebellious and party and good times. And I just loved that vibe. And so that, all the hair bands and just 80s guitar players was kind of where I focused on when I had first started. And then there was, so Jaded Jaded had a manager, and he just kind of bonded me and the drummer, and then we hit it off so well, more than I had ever had a bond with any male musician that I had jammed with, and they were all male except for my sister, who was great, but she was my little sister, so it's like didn't really count. Bossed her around, told her what songs we were playing, but then she joined Jaded too. So that I couldn't find a female bass player. So then I was like, Abby, I know you play drums, but guess what? You're on bass now. And she was like, I don't play bass. And I was like, you do now. And anyways, she was a good sport. So my parents were extra cool because she is 2 years younger than me. So then we were both underage in these bars. And so then my parents would come to every show with us, and my mom became the merch lady. She would sell all the t-shirts and the CDs, and then my dad would be the roadie, and he'd lug the half stacks around, and then they could keep an eye on us too. So that worked out. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then my sister, I was always like, yeah, let's do shots, and like, this is cool. And then my sister would be the one like with her notebook at the bar, just like very focused on math homework. And I'd be like, you could take a shot. And she'd be like, no, like I'm doing my homework, and I couldn't correct it. And now she's a chiropractor. So it makes sense. We went different ways, but yeah. And what was the other part of your question? But yeah, I love the female thing, right?
Oh yeah.
The female thing.
yeah. So anyways, no, but I just loved that, you could just share more and just feel more, I could feel more camaraderie, and, there was a lot of times where we go and play, or even just in general, not when I was in a band, just as a guitar player, people just don't think you can play because you're a girl, and just feeling like less confident around guys. And so the being surrounded by women just made me feel super confident. We all had the same goals. We all had the same outlook. And it just, I don't know, it just gave us more power, me more power, and us more power together. And I feel that with Vixen so much. Like all the girls we're all so supportive of each other. We can talk about anything. We have little slumber parties in our hotel rooms and our slippers and wine. And it's just a good time all around. It's like we have the best time on and off stage together. And we talk all the time. So I like that camaraderie.
Well, that's awesome.
When did you realize that you were like, have that epiphany where you're on stage and you're in front of either a certain amount of people or playing with certain musicians? Like, what was like the moment where you're like, I think something cool just happened?
Yeah, I definitely remember it perfectly. It was, I was playing for Alejandro Sanz, who's an amazing Latin artist. And I was so nervous for this gig. I had never really played Latin style. And there was a lot of material and not a lot of time to learn it. There was a big language barrier. They have like the do, re, mi, fa, instead of
solfege.
Yeah. So, right. So that was very confusing. I wasn't aware of all that. Like walking into rehearsal, like I'm playing the what? So, a lot of stress leading up to it, but wanted it so badly. And the first gig I was just so nervous. And it was in a beautiful like castle overlooking the sea in Spain. And I was just like, oh my God, please let me get through this somehow, like without messing up and losing this gig, because it's amazing. And there was just a sea of people. And even though I was so nervous, it was the one main time I felt like I had this out of body experience where I didn't even focus on what I was playing, but the show just went by like that. And I've never actually felt that again to that extent. And it was just amazing. It was just like I was watching it happen instead of like being involved in it. And it just went amazingly. And it was like such a feeling of accomplishment, and like playing this beautiful outdoor stadium. And then after that, we just played, a lot of huge arenas and soccer stadiums and things like that all across like South America and Spain and, US. And it was amazing. We did awesome venues like Radio City. And during that tour, I was like, this is what I dreamed about, traveling all over the world and playing with these amazingly talented people, where every night on stage, I just get the chills. It's, it was just very inspiring.
That's great. Do you approach your emotions or technique any differently if you're playing in front of an arena or a club gig, or are you one of those people where it's the same whether it's 5 people or 50,000?
Yeah, I think I have to do a little more like meditating before a stadium show or something like that, just because, but I have to say it's so much easier for me to play in front of more people. I get way more nervous when it's a different, surprisingly, I just get way more nervous for like a club show. Because I think it's just more intimate, and there you can see everybody, and a stadium, it's just like, whatever, this is awesome, let's rock, and you don't think twice. And then a club, it's like, oh no, who's out there? Oh, I see that oh, I know that person. I don't know. I don't like that as much.
Well, do you worry about, how to fill an arena though? Because there's this whole thing about, as a performer, in a small club, it's like you can zero in on a couple of people and just get them. But like an arena, your charisma has to be as high as the clouds almost. Yeah,
I think it's easier to do so though, because you're in that rock star setting. So it's like, I'll throw shapes. Whoops, hit the lamp. Do the big moves and stuff, and over exaggerate because I want that person in the very last row to see it. So awesome. I find it easier for whatever reason. Yeah,
this would be a good time for a straplock commercial, and then you could tell the story where you were going over the top and threw your guitar around and it shot out and impaled someone in the crowd.
Has that ever happened? Has that ever happened, Britt?
No, because I always use straplocks. Straplock.
No, there we go. Straplock.
But when the screw pulls out of the body.
No, you have to have them. Really, if I ever get a loaner guitar and they don't have straplocks, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I can't move.
Have you, do you know Bill Lanero?
No.
He invented this, it's a strap tight straplocks. And he got Satriani to endorse it. We had him on, and he was telling us about how he invented it. And his buddy, he didn't have a strap lock, and I think he needed one for something he was doing, and he didn't want to drop the guitar. So his buddy gave him one of those bread tabs that you close bags of bread with, right? And said, "Here, just put this on." So he pops it over his, screw of his, what do you call that? What is that called? Button.
Yes. Yeah.
Button's good.
Yeah.
Strap button.
Yeah, strap button. And he was like, wow, this is amazing. So he went and got some developed with this, like, it's the right flexibility of like Kevlar or something like that.
Super strong though.
Yeah, but it's super strong. It won't come apart, And he had it designed where all you do is you just put a regular strap on and you just slide it, pop right over the top of it, and it won't come off. And so he called up Satriani and I think he got his manager to let him have a audience with the
Pope.
Yeah, I guess you could say that of metal, but he was like, he's come on over. So he comes over and he's like, all right, there's 4 of my guitars. If you can make me, make it happen, I'll endorse it. And he's like, all right, here you go. He walks over and he just pops one of those on, and Joe is like, how did no one think of this yet?
Wow.
It was just like but yeah, you should check it out. It's a good strap tight strap locks.
I mean, it's so he came by Guitar Player magazine when I was editor to show them to me, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like you go, really, dude, this is going to stop my guitar from falling off? You got to be kidding me. But it works. It's funny, you look in places that you don't think people are looking, and sometimes you find gold,
So true. Yes.
I do bet you have some good on the road stories though, Britt. What's your craziest tour story?
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Ones I don't remember.
Yeah.
I blacked out. No.
You have them on film. Yeah. So everyone's like, yeah, check that out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Actually, I do have a very funny old photo. I was trying to back up some photos, and I found this one of me drinking a bottle of Jack on top. I'm sitting in this old looking hotel room. So it's got to be like, I don't know, at least over 10 years ago. And I'm sitting Indian style on top of this TV, and I'm like crouching under the ceiling. So that looked like an interesting night. I don't know what that was all about, but I did just recently see that in my
That's like a picture from one of those stories where they roasted a goat on an open spit in the hotel room. The rock star thing.
I've never thrown a TV out the window. Always wanted to glue the furniture to the ceiling. But let's see, craziest story. That's tough. I guess. Gee, I don't. I've definitely had some crazy nights. I think most of them are classified. I don't know if we can do a conversation on a live stream.
Yeah, it's kind of that.
What's happened to rock and roll, Michael?
Well, there is that problem because I mean, you know, it's I was so blessed to be with Guitar Player for so long, and I've seen some extremely famous musicians do some extremely horrendous stuff. But am I going to be the guy that, you know, calls them out for it? Absolutely not.
Hey, what stays in, or what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, it's just that I think sometimes, you know, it's just what you don't say makes you a better person than what you do say. So I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, but what happens on the road stays on the road, right? See, that is
true. That is true.
But I'm not destructive. I'll say that. I don't destroy things. I don't like to vandalize anything. I definitely enjoy whiskey and things like that, and you know, having a good time. But yeah, you know, nothing, no felonies or anything here. So I'll just say that. Never been arrested. Knock on wood.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Just don't go outside of your house anymore.
Yeah.
And you won't be arrested by the California.
Although one time, on tour, one time in Mexico, that always is a good opener. One time in Mexico, you know, it's
yeah.
But anyways, no, we were at this tequila bar and it was last call. And oh yeah, that was a fun night. And what was it? Remember that band LMFAO? They were there. That song was really big at that time. And the whole club was, what was that song? Party. I don't know.
Party in the USA or something. Wait.
No, that's Miley.
That's Miley. That's right.
Another one like that though. Okay. So anyways, and we're all totally drinking a lot of tequila and then they're like, okay, it's last call. And then they're like, okay, we're closing. You need to put your, you can take your drinks home, you know, out, but you got to pour them in the plastic cups. Cool. Okay, great. Yeah. So our hotel was only like a block away. We walk outside, we take like 2 steps with our little plastic cup drinks and boom, cops. And they're like, yeah, you need to pay us a lot of money. Going to jail.
The scam.
And you don't really have an option at that point. It's 2 a.m. and you're wasted. So, you know, yeah, the ATM's right there. Or you can go to Mexican jail. So, yeah, that you know, that happened a couple times.
I have a similar military story involving camels in Egypt, but I won't tell that.
Wow.
Yeah, let's time out on that one.
I want to hear that.
But a cautionary tale for all musicians who tour Mexico. Thank you for that, Britt.
Yeah.
And
at least they didn't make you into a drug mule or something like that. That's good.
Yep.
Oh my God. Yeah. But on the touring thing, I think you know, people who may be watching who aren't in a band like Vixen, it's kind of a boring question. But how long does it take you to actually rehearse for a tour, a big tour, and get everything set up? You know, is it just because you guys are still not in the same place? So is it like a 2-week process? Is it everything from the set starts getting planned from the moment you get together, or do you kind of work it out beforehand? You know, what are kind of the mechanics of getting a big tour together?
Well, on some big tours, I mean, I've had, you know, 5 or 6 weeks of rehearsal where everybody goes, you know, lives somewhere in a hotel and then you're working out production, staging, you know, outfits, everything. With Vixen, we haven't really, since I've been in the band, haven't spent that much time doing it. But I think, yeah, we definitely have a lot of conference calls, but less in-person rehearsals, really. You know, we might have like 1 or 2 and then just go. And then if anything goes wrong, like we use the sound checks on tour for that most of the time. And we just try to, get as much out of the time together as we can. But we haven't, you know, lately we've been doing more, you know, weekend stuff. So it has been less of a like large tour, and it's just fly out on weekends and festivals and shows, casinos and things like that. So there's that's how it's been recently.
Okay, is that difficult? I mean, I know, especially now with COVID. Well, even before COVID, there were bands that everybody would rehearse in their house and then just get together for the weekend and go. my friend Jude Gold, who plays with Jefferson Starship now, that's kind of how they do things. But what's the difference between actually getting together with the other band members and rehearsing for, a while to know everybody's ins and outs and get that telepathy thing going, as opposed to like kind of just getting together on a weekend?
Well, you know what? But we were spending almost every weekend together. So I think knowing everybody's little things happens when you travel together on, in cars and planes, and then that's almost better than on stage, because you really get to see everybody's personalities at when you get 2 hours of sleep and then you have to be at the airport at 5 a.m. You really get to know everybody's personality. Right. But no, on stage, I mean, it's always been pretty smooth and great. Like, we have really good communication, all of us. So a lot of eye contact, a lot of laughs. We're always having fun on stage. I mean, that's one thing. We're always laughing. I'll see pictures photographers will post after the show, and I'm like hysterically laughing. Like, my mouth is like wide open. I'm like, what was I possibly doing at that moment that was so funny? What were we doing? But I don't know. It's always but yeah, I think I don't know. We all know that, if something goes wrong, to cover for each other. We've all been doing it for so long that I think it's just kind of like the standard it's ways of like, if somebody goes too long in this outro chorus, well, we'll default to this person, or, it's just, it's kind of just spontaneous onstage communication that gets us through most things. I mean, but most of the songs, we all know, and we go over the set list always ahead of time. And although lots of times you plan things and then stuff happens and you can't plan for certain things, and then it's like, oh, by the way, we're not doing that song, we're doing this song. So it's really about just personally being prepared and just making sure all the set and songs not in the set, just in case, because you never know. Just be prepared for anything, because that's rock and roll.
Well, that is true. And I think I think sometimes the musicians I've met that haven't been able to hang and have a fun career through it have been those who just freaks them out. The fact that anything can happen at any time, and somebody makes a mistake, or the singer goes on too long, and it's like, they should have gone to the chorus there, and they just get so angry and uptight about stuff not going to plan that it kind of ruins their enjoyment, and as a result kind of ruins their career. Definitely. No, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. It's like and you got to think about that, even when you're like super tired, or you have a cold on the road, and it's like, you just don't have the energy, and you're like, how am I going to pull this off? You have to think about like, oh my God, I do this for a living. This is so cool. Like, every day I'm just grateful that, like, wow, I get to come here and I get to play in front of these people, and they come and they want to hear me play. And that's amazing. And so like, let's have a great time, because anything can happen. And if 2020 has shown us anything, it's that anything can happen at any time. So make the best of every single day. So if you're on stage, lucky enough to be playing to an audience and making money doing it, like, just have a good time. And if you play a wrong note, so what? Like, I always try to compare it to, you can't get down on yourself for playing one wrong note if it happens. Look at football. These professional football players get paid so much freaking money, and they miss big passes, or just they mess up all the time, every game. If they got down on themselves after every, incomplete, it's just, but musicians, I do feel like most are type A and very picky and very, and that's good, because that makes you practice and makes you be a good musician and gives you the skills that you need. But you can't beat yourself up. And then the best people, like, I've been doing these master classes. I mean, they'll tell you, like, people mess up all the time, and you just got to let it roll. And then nobody knows. It's really you. The audience does not know. Half the time your band doesn't know. And, it's all about rolling with it and using it. And then that's what makes every live show unique also. Well, I think sometimes too, as a live performer, I'm sure, everybody's done this, where it's like, you'll get off stage, or I'll get off stage, or Matt will get off stage, or Roger Daltrey will get off stage and go, that show killed it. And then the audience, you find out later, they hated it. Or you felt that, you're really just tank the show and everybody's going bananas, so it's really difficult for you as an individual to because we are performing for people. We're not performing for ourselves, and ultimately that's kind of who decides. So it always cracks me up when people go, oh man, I suck so bad. It's like, people are jumping out of their seats. What's the matter with you?
Yes. And I used to do that, like, especially when I was younger, I'd be like, oh my God, that was, or get off stage and be like, I wouldn't let it show on stage, but then I'd go to my friend, oh my God, that was the worst performance I've ever done. I can't believe I just did that. I want to go crawl in a hole. And they're like, what are you talking about? You were so much better than the last time I saw you. And it's like, oh, just don't say that. Don't put those ideas into people's heads. Cause they might not think that at all. And sometimes what you think is a mistake is brilliant to other people. I mean,
I've kind of gotten to the point in my career, which is brand new, by the way. I've been playing music for a long time, but professionally, I'm just starting. But I think the art of failure as a guitar player, the cool thing about the guitar is that we have all these little frets that we can bend the strings. We can cheat at everything, literally. And it's like, if you can learn the art of failing on the guitar, you can get in any situation and not even know what you're doing. And I don't want to say fake it, but kind of, make it look good enough so that other people are like, genius, but really you just failed a lot.
Well, live is different than studio too. I remember I was such a T-Rex fanatic when I was a young guy and just thought Mark Bolan was an amazing guitar player, which was, he had a style certainly, but I just remember being so bummed out, in my 40s or something, interviewing Tony Visconti, who produced all those awesome T-Rex records, saying, Mark Bolan, he didn't even know what key he was in half the time. He'd be just going crazy and completely like a whole step off or a half step off. And, we'd have to find the bits that made sense to put him in the record. I mean, it's hilarious sometimes.
Well, and you know what they say, do it once and it's a mistake, do it twice and it's what's the line? And it's genius or something.
Yeah. Or jazz or something.
Yeah, right. So you mess up, hit that note again, and then like Tulpa FX is saying there, my selling point as a guitarist is hitting all the wrong notes with unjustified confidence. Exactly. Do it with the smile and do it with a Pete Townsend windmill, and like you meant to do that. That's part.
Although I heard this video of this guy, and he was performing, and I think every note that he played was wrong, and but he was so serious about it that I listened to it for about 3 minutes. And I was like, this guy looks like he's really good, but he doesn't know what he's doing at all. And he just it's like he studied the facial expressions and conviction of musicians, and he got all of that down perfect, but he never learned how to play the instrument. It was so hilarious.
I love that. Well, that's the thing too. Yeah, if you make a mistake, don't make the face that, oh my God, I totally just messed up, because that's the dead giveaway. Yeah. So it's like if I make a mistake, I'm just like, I smile bigger, like, yeah, good one.
Well, that's like you said earlier. I mean, that the football thing was interesting too, because I know we all get pissed off when we have a favorite football team and somebody misses a pass and they're getting paid $40 million a year, and you go, how can you miss that when you're getting paid $40 million? But you're right. I mean, people are human and stuff happens. But it's also you realize that the audience isn't really aware. I mean, you mentioned this too, Britt. The audience isn't aware all the time of what's happening. They're not listening to you, wanting you to fail. They're not listening to you with a tuner in their ears, going, I think Britt bent that last note about a quarter tone off. They're not doing that, just enjoying hopefully what they're seeing. Because I mean, we love records, we love all the classic rock things. You get older, your ear gets developed, and you realize that Ringo was rushing, or there were a couple of out of tune notes here, or wow, I can hear edits in the Kinks records and stuff, that cymbals just stopping because they put one part into another, and it never ruin my enjoyment of the beauty of those songs at all,
Right. And people want to have a good time. They're going to a concert to enjoy themselves, right? So they don't want to see somebody stressing out on stage, looking miserable and like looking nervous and like they're not enjoying themselves and they're worried and angry. It's like, if you're having a good time on stage, that just translates. Because I mean, performing is like a transfer of energy to to the audience, and likewise goes both ways. You get the energy of the audience too. So you want to give a positive vibe out there. That's what it's all about.
Well, and you obviously are an experienced musician, but bringing it back to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is there anything you've learned from listening to the rock stars at the master classes that you've kind of written down and taken with you? That's awesome. I gotta keep that with me.
I write a lot of stuff down during them. Yeah, I mean, a lot of great lines, a lot of good quotes, a lot of good song titles come out of it. A lot of good inspirations. Somebody saying, this was my biggest inspiration, or was my mentor, and it's like, oh, I never heard of them. I'll go look them up. But mostly, what you do learn is like when people start out, they don't know what they're doing, and that's common to everybody. That's common to the people. It's like there is no map. Nobody knows what they're doing. Some people have backup plans. Some people don't. But I just think at the end of the day, like, it's dedication. It's not even skill level. It's just, it's commitment, and it's, and just paving your own way, making it work. Like Shep Gordon's so inspirational. He's an amazing manager, and he's done like Celebrity Chef, and he's just created so many things. This is just one of them that just pops in my head. He was just saying, like, they asked me to manage them. I think it was like Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, and Janis Joplin. They were like, and he said, okay. And they go, well, have you been a manager before? And he goes, no, like, I was a drug dealer. Like, I had no idea what the requirements were to be a band manager, but I said yes. And then I just made it work. Like, you figure it out as you go along. Nobody has the secret key. None of us know what the heck we're doing. Inventors, it goes for anybody. Nobody really knows, but you got to try. And it's the journey, and and then if you're successful, great. But if you're not too, it's like, if you're doing what you love, that's what it's about. If you believe,
I think sometimes that, Shep and those managers we all know, the famous ones, the Peter Grants, et cetera, even Brian Epstein to a certain, he obviously didn't know what he was doing in a lot of ways. He had some great ideas, but, they kind of invented the whole industry as they went along. Sometimes I think today it's, rock and roll has become so codified that, would a Shep Gordon thrive today? I don't know. There's so much money involved. Insurance is involved. Expectations are involved. It's become a weird corporation. Like, it's rock and roll is, Wells Fargo Bank these days in a lot of ways.
Right. But I do still think there are ways to just they thought outside of the box. They don't color in the lines. He didn't go do what you were supposed to do. And, so I think that's, no matter what decade you're in, there's still opportunity to just be really creative and just not go by the handbook at all, and find your own way and make a difference.
Well, I have one last question for Britt before we close. We're getting close to the top of the hour here, but do all guitar players lie to the sound man during sound check and hold back volume for the guitar solo?
Yeah, you have to, because I'll tell you what, they never turn the guitar up loud enough, and I can never hear myself loud enough on stage. I'll be like, I just can't hear, and then I'm cranking my amp up. So if I don't want to disrupt the whole balance, I will keep my guitar rolled down just a little bit and pretend that's my max. And then if I need that, I go for it, and you always need it. More guitar.
You always need
Never
it.
always has to go to I'm always turning up. By the end of the show, my amp is cranking from when you start. It's just like, once that train gets rolling, it's never enough.
And your singer doesn't come after you with a mic stand if you do that, or.
I just no. She's got in-ears.
Guitar wins over a mic stand.
In-ears, and then the rest of us don't. So. Yeah, I could, but I don't like the in-ears. It makes me feel like I'm in a weird bubble.
You can take most singers anyway. They're usually weak.
Yeah.
Especially if you got a guitar, guitar versus a mic stand, no contest.
Right.
Well, that is one of those. That is one of those subtle balancing acts that bands have to take. Is like not to overwhelm the singer too much, or life gets kind of bad for you in that band.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll point my monitor like away from the singer, so and then I'll just stand right in front of it if I need to, or angle my amp, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I guess on just on Matt's note, one more thing for people who don't maybe play arenas, but that's a good point too. Do you ever get good sound? I mean, you have sound checks. You have these big sound checks. I think people expect that if they go to see Vixen, it's like, man, I play in bars and my sound always sucks, but they probably get the cool sound.
You know what?
But do you?
Checks, but that doesn't mean a damn thing. And you know what? You can have I always say the better the sound check, the worse I know the live gig is going to be for sound. It's like as soon as a room fills up with people, everything changes. I don't know what the sound guy does. There's always something that goes terribly wrong. And so usually if we don't have a sound check, it turns out better.
That's interesting.
I don't know how that works. It's like Murphy's Law, but it does. But sound checks are just whatever.
Do you use tubes on stage or do you?
Yeah, okay. I'm not a convert. I don't do Kemper. I don't do fractal. No, I'm tubes all the way. I hear a difference. I know. It's like I like to go over and I like to hear the feedback. I like to hear the ambiance of it. I can hear it.
We had a Carl Verheyen on here from Super
Carl's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking about his ridiculous rig. Like it's just stupid, like all these cabinets and everything, And he's, and he was like, I was like, let me ask you a question. I was like, if you didn't have a roadie, would you do that? And he's like, hell no. He's like, I'm not carrying all that shit on the stage. He's like, but do you have to lug all your own gear?
So I got a good story
Depends
about
on the job, I guess.
But when we do these fly dates and stuff like that, our bass player is the most rock star. Cher is so awesome. She brings her pink fuzzy strap and that's it. She gets a loaner P bass. She gets, everything backline. She's just so cool. She just shows up with the strap. Like, yep. I just put the carry on, makes it nice and easy. I always like to bring at least one of my own guitars because I'm picky about setup and everything. And I, sometimes on backline guitars, I don't know, sometimes you get them and the strings are rusty. You don't have time to like change them. And so that's a bummer, but I always get one guitar backlined and then I fly with either one or two. And then I bring this, this Hughes and Kettner Grandmeisters, and they're small and they're tubes and they're awesome and they crank. And I love that. So I just carry that with me. It fits right under the seat in front of you. And
one of those little lunchbox tube amps.
Yeah, but it's like, it's about this big and it's awesome. And it's real tubes and it's the best. Yeah.
Mike, you got any last remarks? Any last questions?
No, just thanks, Britt, for being a part of this and for sharing about Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp and Vixen. There's a lot of knowledge that you have here. Hopefully a lot of people out there were sucking it in because you did share a lot of awesome stuff. So thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
We're glad you survived the lightning when you were younger.
Thank you.
To be here today.
Yeah.
You guys will have to come on a master class. So let me know which ones you want to come on and we'll get you in there so you can see them for yourself.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
That sounds good. So let's say goodbye to Steve Walton and JD Wayne and Topla Effects, which is actually Kevin. Hi, Kevin. And Guitar Zombie and all the rest of you that are watching out there in the Kingdom of Rock. Britt, oh, there she is. Yeah, Britt Lightning, everyone.
Britt gets the last word.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Oh, keep rocking. COVID's going to be over soon.
All right.
Okay.
Kingdom of Rock out. Be sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and what's the other one? Stitcher Radio, I think. Also, we're broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So be sure to subscribe to us and Kingdom of Rock out.
Awesome.
Thanks, Britt Lightning.
Thank you.